Hi, this is Matt Baker. Welcome to our annual Best Fan-Made Charts of the Year video. This is the 6th year in a row that we're doing this, and as usual, it's based on the charts posted to the subreddit r/usefulcharts. This year, instead of choosing 2 charts to have printed as a poster, I'm instead going to be giving out 29 individual awards to 29 different people, each of whom will receive a $30 gift certificate that can be used at usefulcharts.com. Take note that if you want to get a closer look at any of the charts I'm about to show you, just use the link in the description or pinned comment to go to our subreddit, where you'll find all of these charts plus many more. Okay, let's jump straight in. For Best Religion chart, I've chosen Who are the 8 Kings of Revelation 17. It's a simple chart, but highly effective, basically explaining what is meant in Revelation when it says, "They are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for only a little while. The beast who once was and now is not is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction." So according to scholars, Revelation was written during the reign of Domitian, but set during the reign of Vespasian. Thus, the 5 fallen kings are the first 5 Roman emperors: Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. The one that is Vespasian, and the one that is to come but will remain for just a little while is Titus. Finally, the 8th king is Domitian, who was seen as being Nero reborn, which is why he's referred to as the beast who once was and now is not. We got several timelines of political parties this year, as it's a new type of chart that I've been featuring on the channel. For the award, I've chosen this one on Venezuela, a country that's been in the news a lot lately because of the US military's recent attacks there. As you can see from the end of the timeline, the political situation there is pretty complicated. Basically, an authoritarian socialist group led by Hugo Chavez took over in 1999, leading democracy in Venezuela to slowly erode. After Chavez died in 2013, he was replaced by Nicolas Maduro. But then in 2019, Operation Freedom declared an opposition politician named Juan Guaido acting president, leading to a situation in which Venezuela had 2 competing governments for several years. Best Linguistics chart goes to Timeline of Writing Systems. Let's zoom in so you can get an idea of how it works. So, for example, here's Arabic, which evolved from Nabatean, which, like Hebrew, evolved from Aramaic. Aramaic, in turn, evolved from Phoenician, which also gave rise to Greek, which gave rise to Latin, which is what we use for English today. If we go back to Aramaic, we can see that it perhaps influenced Brahmi, an early script from India that is the parent of dozens of modern scripts, from Babayan in Philippines to Devanagari in India. For this one, I chose Shakespeare Characters family tree because I found the concept to be extremely clever. You see, this chart connects the characters from multiple Shakespeare plays onto one big family tree. The ones at the top, such as Hippolyta from A Midsummer Night's Dream, are mythological, but they can be connected via various pseudo-historical accounts to legendary royals such as King Lear and Prince Hamlet, who in turn can be connected to actual historical rulers like Julius Caesar, Macbeth, and King John. Best Personal Family Tree goes to how I'm related to several US presidents. I liked this one because it's really simple and clean, with lines that are really easy to follow. For example, through this person's father, you can see how he or she is related to Abraham Lincoln, and through their mother, you can see how they are related to FDR. I also like the fact that Mr. Beat makes an appearance. For Best Pop Culture chart, I chose this Star Trek timeline, which basically shows how the various crews in the Star Trek movies and TV shows relate to each other in time. You see, although the Star Trek Enterprise series was created much later, chronologically, it actually comes first, starting in the year 2151, whereas the events from the original series start here in the year 2265. As you can see from the chart, the most recent Star Trek series, Strange New Worlds, actually takes place just a few years earlier than this, in 2259, prior to Captain Kirk taking over command of the Enterprise from Captain Pike. For general history, I chose Family Tree of Mongol Nations, which is more accurately a chart that shows all of the many successor states to the Mongol Empire. For example, Uzbekistan was once a part of the USSR, but prior to this, it was the Emirate, earlier the Khanate, of Bukhara. But if we go back even further, we can see that it was once the Uzbek Khanate, which was one of the successor states to the Golden Horde, which in turn was one of the four main parts of the Mongol Empire. Going back further in time, I've chosen kings of Elam, Babylon, and Assyria for Best Ancient History Chart. First off, I really like all of the archaeological images shown along the edges. But the chart itself is really good too, in that it includes both maps as well as a color-coded family tree. Take note that the creator has chosen to use the actual transliterations for names, as opposed to the more English-sounding approximations. So this person here is Tiglath-Pileser III, and these are Sargon II and Shalmaneser V, all three of whom are mentioned in the Bible. Now, we obviously get a lot of royal family trees, and this year my favorite was Genealogy of the Hispanic Monarchy Post-Reconquista. It does a really good job at showing all of the creepy connections between the Habsburgs, and the whole thing is color-coded in a nice way, so that you can follow along as various dominions merge and or separate. I also like how monarchs are shown in the standard square format, but everyone else, including wives and other royals, are shown with circles. It looks pretty close to the standard useful charts format, but not quite, which is why I decided to give out the next award. For this award, I've chosen two charts, so I guess it's a tie. The first one is Greek Monarchs Family Tree, Extended Version. Basically, this looks like something I myself could have made. In other words, it matches my own style almost perfectly. The choices for the photos are also really good, and I like the fact that the names are shown in Greek as well. Also really close to my own style is Family Tree of the Visigoth Kings. Like this one would basically fit perfectly as part of my Roman Emperor's family tree chart, which includes the Ostrogoths, but not the Visigoths. Now, since we mostly get royal family trees related to Europe, I really like it when I see trees for other areas. So that's what the next award is for. For this, I've chosen Malietoa Dynasty, which is the oldest of Samoa's four main chiefly families, who today take turns serving as heads of state. Malietoa means great warrior, and as a title, it was first given to this man here, who helped Samoa achieve independence from the Tongan Empire way back in the 1300s. His early descendants ruled Samoa until they were replaced by the descendants of this famous queen, Queen Salamasina. Then, during the colonial period, the Malietoa reigned as kings once again, until the monarchy was abolished in 1899. Other recent descendants of this family include the first Prime Minister of Samoa and his daughter, who served as Prime Minister from 2021 to September of this year. Often our Reddit contributors post charts and then continue to improve them over time. One example is this one, which shows the princes and kings of Wallachia and Romania. The most famous person here is, of course, Vlad the Impaler of the Dracula family, although the chart also shows the modern kings from the House of Hohenzollern, who reigned from 1866 to 1947. Okay, here we have something quite different, and in my opinion, the most creative chart posted this year. These are the kings and queens of Sweden, from Gustav Vasa to present, but the entire thing is done using actual coins from the years when each monarch reigned. So this is quite the collection, and I can imagine it being displayed in a museum sometime in the future. So hats off to the person who came up with this idea and then was able to go through all the effort of finding the coins and making the finished product. Now, who doesn't like a good old who would be king, or in this case, emperor chart? Here we have what if Neil Armstrong became emperor of the moon. And to be honest, I mostly enjoyed it because prior to looking at this, I knew very little about Neil Armstrong's family. So it looks like he married twice and has a stepdaughter who married a U.S. ambassador. I did know that he lost a daughter in the early 60s prior to landing on the moon. She unfortunately died at age 2 from a brain tumor. So today he has 2 surviving children, both sons, Eric and Mark, as well as several grandchildren. Imagine being able to say that your grandfather was the first man on the moon. That'd be pretty cool. I love it when someone goes all out on an obscure topic that they are obviously really interested in. In this case, motion picture apparatuses. I mean, this thing is super detailed. To be honest, I don't really know anything about all the various inventions shown on this chart, but it's pretty clear that this one was super important because it's got a lot of lines descending from it, including one leading to this device here at the bottom, which Wikipedia tells me was the main camera used during the early silent movie days. We don't get a lot of maps on the subreddit, but technically maps are a type of chart, and I found this one particularly educational. It's all about the political subdivisions that exist in the US below the level of state. As you can see from the large amount of green, especially in the west and southeast, most of the country has something called a census county division. So below the level of state, you get counties, and then anything that's not a city, those are the red splotches, gets further divided into census county divisions. Seems pretty simple, except that a lot of states in the east, as well as Alaska, don't use census county divisions. They instead use minor civil divisions, of which there are a lot of different kinds. The most popular being the one used in the light blue areas, which is civil townships. If you want to learn about the other types, you'll definitely want to check out this chart. I love a good handmade chart, and this one is really cool. Although it was made using an app, I still consider it handmade because, well, it's made with a pen rather than a mouse. Basically, it shows where each of the creator's ancestors was born, but it does so in a really unique way using a circle format. It's also color-coded so that ancestors are broken down by ethnicity. There's also a few key people pointed out, such as the poet Anne Bradstreet and one of the Mayflower passengers. Okay, on the subreddit, there are some people who like to do series, in which each chart follows a similar format. For example, this person is attempting to make trees for every dukedom and earldom in the UK, with this particular chart on the Dukes of Westminster being just one example from the series. Now, this one was something I was not expecting to see. This is a family tree chart of somebody's chickens. But you know, I actually learned a lot from studying this chart. I learned that chickens are worse than Habsburgs. I feel bad calling anyone's chart useless, but I do so here as a joke because the creator himself labeled the chart a useless chart for answering the question, where in Europe would you have the highest regnal number? So if, for example, your name is David and you were to become King of Scotland, you would be David III. Whereas if your name was Eric and you became the King of Sweden, you'd be Eric the 15th. Now, if you can't find your name on this chart, that means you'd be the first of your name. I didn't find Matt or Matthew, but that's actually a mistake because there was a Matthias Corvinus of Hungary and a Holy Roman Emperor, Matthias. So my highest regnal number would be Matthew II in either Hungary or a revived Holy Roman Empire. Okay, I'm joking here as well because I'm not a celebrity, but it does seem like I'm related to some. I did laugh when I saw this, but on a serious note, it was only recently because of making useful charts videos that I discovered how important this person is on my family tree because she came to Nova Scotia from America. And therefore, if I want to find a link between myself and anybody from the States, famous or not, I usually have to go through her. It's always important to take note of people like this when you find them on your tree, meaning people who came from somewhere very different from most of your other ancestors, because they are the ones that sometimes can provide you with a path back to royalty or someone else interesting. Now, this one was technically posted after the deadline, but it was so good I had to include it. Timeline of Southeast Asian political history. So if we go to the bottom, we can see that it covers Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and more. And for all these places, you can trace their history as far back as 500 CE. The person who made this should definitely look into getting it printed locally and perhaps even selling it to people in Southeast Asia. Okay, next up I have 4 charts that I would like to award a bigly to. Basically, a person earns a bigly if they make a really, really big chart. Every year we do get several of these. First up is Royal Family Trees of Homeric Greece. I like how this one is divided into Bronze Age, Iron Age, and Antiquity, because it really highlights that there was a Dark Age in the middle. So in the Bronze Age, we find legendary figures such as Perseus and Heracles, who are supposedly the ancestors of the much later historical kings of Sparta. Also receiving a bigly award is Arab Royal and Tribal Family Tree. This one starts with some legendary biblical figures, but then basically ends up connecting to Muhammad and from his family to all of the big Arab monarchies today, such as Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, etc. The next bigly recipient also goes from myth and legend to real historical monarchs, this time starting with the Norse gods. So if you're royalty, you can take your pick. You can claim to trace your line back to Adam, or you can go with Odin instead. The final bigly of the year goes to MF Gervais, who is one of our moderators, for Monarchs of Europe. He posts a lot of great charts, and I believe this is his biggest ever, at least about royals. It covers a lot of the same ground as my own combined East-West chart, but does so in Gervais' own unique style. Okay, we have 2 more awards, and I saved these ones for last because they are the most important. Because we usually choose 2 charts to have printed, but we're not doing that this year, I instead chose to give out 2 Designer of the Year awards. The first one goes to Guest53 or Goost53, who has developed a unique style that is instantly recognizable to me whenever I see it. This chart here shows all of the main players in the 100 Years' War. Not only are the kings of England and France shown, but also many of the knights and other rulers that fought on either side. Along the top, you can see all the lesser-known coats of arms for some of these individuals. Now, interestingly, some historians talk about there being 200 Years' Wars, and there's 2 different ways to do this. One way is to consider the period of the Angevin Empire as the first 100 Years' War, and the usual one as the second. So here's a chart that does something similar for that earlier period. But one could also consider the usual 100 Years' War to be the first one, and then this period to be the second. This is the time between 1688 and 1815, when England and France both had colonial empires and were thus struggling over global hegemony. So overall, great work by our first Designer of the Year 2025. The other Designer of the Year award goes to Pickled Pigeon. The first chart I want to show you by this creator is Etymology of Vlogger, which was actually the most upvoted chart of the year. Not only does it have a really nice simple design, but it's also really interesting. So the word vlogger is based on the word vlog, which is a portmanteau of video and blog. Interestingly, the word video can be traced back to an old Proto-Indo-European word meaning to see. Blog, on the other hand, is short for weblog, which is itself a portmanteau of web and log. The word web, in turn, is short for World Wide Web. So there's three parts there that can be traced back even further. If we just look at world, we discovered that it comes from the Proto-Germanic word weraldes, which was actually a portmanteau of the word man combined with the word for a lifetime. So basically everything that a human experiences. Going back to log, though, it's short for logbook. And the word log, which comes from the word for a fallen tree, actually goes all the way back to the Proto-Indo-European verb meaning to be lying down. So fascinating stuff that really goes to show you how interesting language is and how it changes over time. But I also wanted to show you two other charts by Pickled Pigeon because this designer is able to produce many different styles of charts, such as this beautiful family tree of Gaelo-Norse Monarchs and this really professional-looking chart of the UK Starmer Ministry. I mean, this chart looks like the kind of thing you'd see in a major magazine. So again, great work by our second Designer of the Year 2025. Okay, so that was a look at the best fan-made charts of 2025. If you are one of the creators who won an award, shoot me a message on Reddit using my username u/usefulcharts, and I will reply back to you with a gift certificate code that you can use on usefulcharts.com. Thanks everyone for the great charts, and see you in 2026.